this afternoon I'm showing you what I built. This morning, if you weren't at my junior session that I did earlier, when I was talking about MusicFirst and the diagram, what I'm going to spend the next hour doing is showing how it works and how most of our customers are using it. So the title of the session, which isn't all that exciting because it has the word assessment in it. So people go, oh, that sounds like a real barn burner. I should have come up with something snazzier, but it's really all about how technology can help you get an accurate understanding of what your students understand, how they perform, how they're creative, all that kind of stuff. Before I jump in, how many of you are what we would call middle school, high school teachers? Middle school, high school. This is really right in the wheelhouse of that grade level. How many of you teach any type of performance ensemble? Okay, great. And how many of you are teaching composition? Awesome, very good. In the US, it's probably one hand or two, so I'm always pleased to be here and see those kind of hands. I'm starting off by showing you that when I did my doctorate in music education, for anybody else who's suffered through that wonderful process, here's my title, which is really even more exciting. Perhaps I should have called it this: An Evaluation of a Web-Based Model of Assessment for the New Jersey State Core Curriculum Content Standards in Music. I'm surprised it never made it to the bestseller list. But I completed my doctoral work in 2001, defended my dissertation in 2002. And what I did was build a website in 2001 for kids all over the state of New Jersey to submit assessment examples. The reason is that the beautiful state of New Jersey decided they were going to evaluate the efficacy of all music teachers based on a single test that would be given to 4th grade, 8th grade, and 12th graders. That test would have 100 questions on it, and 25 of the 100 questions were on music, and 75 questions were on other subject areas: art, theater, and dance. In the New Jersey public schools, there was no theater and dance certification, so it was 50% of the questions the kids wouldn't do well on unless they watched television or their parents took them to the theater. And the only questions for music, there were 25, and basically my job was going to be decided on how well the kid did on the whole test, on whether I was going to get a pay raise, all that kind of, yeah, it's messed up over there. So I was so upset by this, and by the way, the sample question was a young lady playing the trumpet. Any brass players in here will know the joke right away. Playing the trumpet holding 1 and 3, and it said, what note is she playing? Right? So brass players, and every single answer was a possible partial. All of it was like, is she playing D, G, B? I was like, what? Truth. And I decided to make a test that was far more holistic and authentic assessment using the web. And if you were ever to read through all this, if you're really bored, it basically says, right now the web can't do this, but one day it will. And the results support the viability of the internet as a facilitator of large-scale performance-based assessment. This is in 2001, 2002 when I finally defended it. It was like a dream, but the internet, if you remember back then, could not possibly do anything like I wanted it to do. And that's really if you remember back to the keynote when Mr. Wise says you can make any company you want, I was like, I have an idea, bing! And that was to build the site. By the way, if you're ever interested in the subtext of any document, I know you probably have seen these before, Wordle.net, copy the entire body of any document you're interested in and paste it into Wordle, and the bigger the word, the more frequently it appears in the document. So the new core art standards for America, what's the biggest word? You know, it's so obvious. And by the way, there are multiple assessments. You'll see, and what is, well, let's look at this. There's music. Wait, let's find, oh, there's teacher, that's good. Where is creativity? Hold on, I know it's here somewhere. Right, you get the idea. Whenever I'm like interested in a document, what is it really saying? Copy, paste into Wordle, bam, that's what it's all about. And so really these amazing standards that they gave to us are really all about how are we going to assess them to tell whether or not you're a good teacher. So we always have to keep jumping through hoops. Isn't that fun? So how do you assess in your programs right now? Just a couple of quick, couple word answers. How do you assess your kids?
Video assessments, and just kind of show me what you've done so far, and then I can give you feedback on it.
Excellent. So video assessments? Rubrics? Love rubrics, yes. So especially if the assignment is far more subjective than objective in terms of the assessment. Creativity, you have to really have rubrics. Other quick ones? Interview? Yeah, how about just, hey kid, play? You know, performance assessments, like play for me. Can you play? B-flat concert scale. Okay, good. We do this all the time. We're constantly doing formative assessments in rehearsals, constantly. Diagnostic assessments where we're like, hey, saxophones for the 1,000,000th time, it's F sharp, right? All right, good. And drummers, for the love of all things, just stop, it's so loud. By the way, the way I cured that, in my band program that I taught, I didn't turn away any students. In a lot of states they do. But I said everybody can play. And so my drum section was usually the biggest. I had 18 drummers, right? And they all wanted to play at the same time. So basically this was me. All right, kids, okay. And just, so one day I recorded them, played it back, and they all had a good giggle because all you could hear were them. Do you assess grade levels differently? There should be, yeah. You know, when a kid's just starting out, are you going to be as strident with your assessment criteria as you are with a kid who's about to go off to university, right? So you want to coddle the kids when they're starting, you want to encourage them to keep playing, but as they get older, you get a little stricter with your assessments. And the assessment of creativity is an art form. In the US, we have a lot to learn from you guys because most music teachers just skip this bit. Or they'll say, all right, we're doing creativity, we'll do an 8-measure melody, and when you're done with that, tick, all right, you're done with creativity, let's move on to other more important things. And that's mostly because no music education program in the country prepares any teachers in the undergraduate curriculum for how to teach composition. There's not one university in America that does it. That's a fact. It's ridiculous, right? So the only way that I knew how to talk to kids about composing was that I took composition lessons. And if you've ever been in that situation where you've written something, you've bared your soul sonically, and you play it for somebody, that moment between the end of the piece and the first word out of their mouth is often an eternity. Imagine when you're 12 and it's in front of the whole class, right? So the assessment of creativity, you mentioned the word rubric, that's a really great way, because the way I always dealt with it, did you get through all of the requirements that I had? Like, did you use multiple instruments? Was the piece 32 measures? Did it have any type of formal, did it have a form to it? Those types of things. And if they got all that, it didn't matter what I personally thought of the aesthetic quality of the piece. It was, did you fulfill all the requirements? You got 100. And then I wish more teachers in our country knew how to do that. Every music teacher I've ever met, this is the kind of I don't have enough time, right? So that's often why they skip the creativity thing, is I just don't have enough time. But I don't, and this probably is true for all of you. Nobody has enough time when they're a music teacher because they don't give you anywhere near enough preps. And the minute the day is over, you're either teaching private lessons or you're playing or performing with an ensemble or you're raising kids, for goodness sake, right? So there is no time. So the last thing I want to do when it comes to technology, as Keith said earlier, is something that helps you do a task or makes a task easier. And oftentimes with technology, when you see it for the first time, you just go, oh my God, I can't possibly learn this. That's way too much, and now I'm going to have to learn a whole new thing. I don't have enough time. So my point of today is I'm going to show you what we built, and I think that we've solved that. I do not want to take any more time out of your precious days because there isn't enough of it. So the whole concept of online, which I mentioned earlier, to me it's all about access, right? In my first year of teaching, I taught in the poorest district in New Jersey, the absolute poorest one, in a place called Irvington, New Jersey, which is the bad part of Newark. If you've ever flown into the US and gone to Newark Airport. And then the next year I taught in the richest town in New Jersey. And to see the disparity, the digital divide, was heartbreaking as an educator because these kids, purely by where they were born, had nothing. And then on the kids on the other side of the track, the kids who had nothing were the dearest kids, and they just were so amazing. And they didn't know what they were missing. And the really rich kids that I taught were jerks. And they nothing was exciting to them when it came to technology. So when I built this, it's all about, hey, I don't care where you're from, as long as you can get to the internet. That is an absolute Achilles heel of our product. You have to get to the internet to be able to use it, but as long as you can get there, it's pretty cool. This to me was extremely important. I did not get along very well with the IT department in my school. And it was mostly because she would not give me the admin password to my own computer. It's true. She was like, well, we pay, no, you didn't pay for it. I raised the money and like benefit concerts, and I bought it with my own money. Oh no, it's school property, so therefore I get the admin password. I was like, okay, so anytime Sibelius wants an upgrade and I can't do anything until it bricks the machine until I put in a password, she's like, yes, at that point you have to put in a ticket for me to put in the admin password. It's probably a 2 to 3 week wait. I was like, no, okay, why don't you chop off my arm while you're at it, because I can't, give me the damn password. So the last day I taught, she came up to me and she goes, it's QWERTY, just so you know, it's QWERTY. I was like, I love you, I'm so glad. So I wanted to eliminate these people from, now many of them are nice, but the people that I worked with were not. So I wanted to eliminate them from the equation completely. We give you the admin password as long as you can get to the internet. By the way, Chrome is the browser that you pretty much have to use with our platform. It is constantly improving. Very few company CEOs will tell you that their product isn't perfect. Our product isn't perfect. And that's because music teachers, real world music teachers, are using it every single day and telling us what's wrong with it, in their opinion. Right? We think it's great, we really do, but when somebody says, we fix it. I mentioned this earlier in the last session, but I'm going to show you a bit of feedback in a bit that's in red and green. And the teacher said, I'm colorblind, I can't see the red and green, we fixed it. So that's what I mean. We think the platform's really awesome, but if somebody says, I really don't like the way the mark book is organized, if enough people say we don't like that, we fix it. That's what the great part of being on the web is. It works on every single device, and the price is extremely affordable. If you remember back to the keynote, $5 is like, oh my God, in the US at least, $5 per user is, that's a lot of money. But in our price range with musiced.net, I think is anywhere between $6 to $8 per user. Everything I show you today is in that. That's not per month, that's per year. $6 to $8 per year for a user. And it doesn't matter if you're a teacher or a student, there's no premium, it's all the same, right? By the way, in my previous job, I saved the price to the very end, because that's where it'd be like, and this keyboard lab is only $42,000. And I'm like, see ya, I'm out, right? So I say the price right up front now. What we did, for those of you that are familiar with something like Google Classroom or any virtual learning environment, was we built one just for music teachers. I always felt when I was teaching that I always had to use some other subject area's stuff, and there was nothing for me. In many of the PD sessions that I went to in my school, it was all for somebody else, and I just literally sat and did Mad Libs. I made up my own Mad Libs during most PD sessions that I had to sit through. So I made something just for music teachers. It is an online learning environment. For those of you using Google Classroom, our platform works perfectly with Google Classroom if you're already familiar with it. But the way we differ, if you've ever used Google Classroom, you open it up, there's nothing in it. You have to build everything. We fill it with thousands of pre-made lesson plans, as well as assessments and software, which I'm going to show you today. Works on every single platform. The only exception to that is we have a product called Soundation, which is just like GarageBand, that does not work on iPads or iPhones. That's the only exception. So we push people to Soundtrap, which is incredible and works on every device. And we have an app. Thank you, Apple. I should put a hashtag, thanks, Apple. $54,000 we had to spend just to access the microphone on one of these devices. I love Apple. Okay. And as I mentioned, Google Classroom compliant. All right, so let's dive right into it. We have a ton of software, and no two teachers will find the same two combination appealing to them. So everything is a la carte. You choose what you want. You don't have to buy any of this, or you can buy all of it. How many of you have heard of NoteFlight? Right, so Sibelius, Finale, fantastic products. Dorico, I know, is here today. Noteflight is just absolutely a no-brainer in my opinion if you want lots of kids to be doing simple notation assignments. If they're going to be doing hardcore engraving, definitely get a couple of copies. For yourself as a teacher, definitely get a copy. But if you want your students to do like an 8-measure analysis of a Bach chorale in notation software, Noteflight is absolutely fantastic. There's another product out there called Flat, which is similar, but it's got about a 5-year lag on the development that Noteflight's done. They've just been around longer, so the features are really pretty awesome. If you love GarageBand, as you say over here, Soundation and Soundtrap, the big Achilles heel of GarageBand is unless you're on that computer, the minute you leave the building, unless you're taking that computer with you, it's a doorstop. You can't open, I mean, by the way, you can open a GarageBand file on another computer, but you need a degree in rocket science to make it happen successfully. If you've ever tried it, you know what I'm talking about. So the minute the bell rings at the end of the period, and that kid's like in the middle of an inspiration, and you're like, all right, sorry, out. And the kid has to come back the next day. They have to wait 24 hours often to get back to it. Sight Reading Factory is ridiculously cool. We're going to do one of those activities today. I showed Junior earlier. Groovy and Sabatnik are part of that. Focus on Sound is a digital encyclopedia. O-Generator is for making fat beats. Lisono is a video recorder, so if the kids want to record video of themselves. Practice First, when you woke up this morning, the highlight of your day you did not know is going to be me singing into a computer, and it's going to tell me how well I sang in front of all of you, which is wonderful because you'll be able to tell me how well I sang. And then Inside Music is a composition curriculum, which we think very highly of. Just quickly, I'll get through these slides and we'll play. Digital portfolios. How many of you tried doing digital portfolios with your kids before? All right, couple of hands. For those people that your hands are up, you probably are a little bit beat up by the experience, and here's why. What I did is I bought one of those Zoom H1 like handheld recorders. It was 99 bucks, and I had flute players and I was like, this is the year I'm going to do it. I'm going to make a digital folder for every single kid in my band, and I'm going to populate it 5 times a year with recordings. Does this sound familiar? Right? So the first, okay, kids, here we go. 6th graders, go. Play a B-flat concert scale. All right, next one. Okay, next one. So I did that for 3 periods in a row. I'm like, this is awesome. I have 42 recordings. This is it. I'm going to do it. Then my prep came up, and I hooked it up with a mini USB into my laptop, and a little showed up, and I brought these recordings over. It said MSC 00001.mp3. I was like, yes. Drag. So I brought all these, and then I clicked the first one, and like I said earlier, it waited for a while, and as soon as it opened, I realized that the kids didn't say their name, and I had no idea who was each recording. And a little piece of my soul died, because I was like, that's it. That's 3 periods that I'm never going to, in fact, I'm not making digital portfolios this year. It's basically what I said every year. So in our platform, the kids self-populate their own digital portfolios. I'll show you how to do it. It's extremely easy. You can set up the year in about 5 minutes. Really, really simple to do. All of our tasks and assessments are customizable. They're all built in. You can make your own tests. We call it a grade book over where I am, but a mark book is pretty cool. We built it based on every other mark book and what we didn't like about them, so they're getting better. You can easily export our mark book into any other one. So if your school uses a different program to do report cards or whatever, do you call them report cards? Yeah? You can export the stuff out of our platform. And we have all the standards already on it. So I know, is it Ankara? Ankara? Sorry. Yeah, that's on our platform, but you can make your own standards. You can come up with your own acronyms if you'd like. So there's a lot of stuff already there for you. We've got 250 pre-made tests that are already there, plus hundreds and hundreds of tests that are in the software themselves, and I'll show you what they look like. Our assessment generator is my dissertation, which was a lot of fun. We record audio and video. The sight reading is amazing. If you've never seen Sight Reading Factory, that might be the thing you walk away with today going, I'm doing that tomorrow. Music theory, Aurelia musician, as you probably know, are part of the MusicFirst family here in Australia. It's just amazing software. It can integrate with our platform. So if you already have that, have a chat with us. Critiques. So you can post video, anything that you'd find on the web, you can post as a question and have the kids react to it. And the assessment of creativity is something I think we do really well, or at least provide the opportunities for.